Okay. Okay. All right, Michael, I think we are late, better late than never, I guess, although you could get a difference of opinion on that. Good
Well,
morning. It's a Monday morning. It's Michael Knight and New York Vinnie. Mikey and Vinnie take on the world. Down there in Pasadena, California.
it's
What
raining
is
hard
it
today,
called?
Vinny. It's raining hard today, where we're actually having true rain. And of course, the reason we signed on late is because Vinny and I were both fired this morning by the headquarters of Twitter Meta. And then they realized that they couldn't do the show without us, and they brought us back. And that took a half an hour. We had to sign up like we were new employees. It was really quite amazing.
The whole business world is amazing, Michael, right now. I mean, it's really
And emails crossing over emails. I couldn't keep up. Are we fired or are we hired? I couldn't figure it out.
yeah, I can't quite figure it all out. I get to the point where I am I'm shutting it off. I actually was thinking about this last night and actually started doing a little bit of research on it. In New York for many, 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 many years, and I think it was like this in a lot of states, you could not buy liquor on election day because it was thought that the liquor made people stupid, and they did stupid things with that stupidity.
I thought it was because the Irishmen consider it to be a vitamin and they would win the election.
Well, we can't say that, though, because we live in a new society now. You'd have to say everybody considered it to be a vitamin, or else nobody considered it to be a vitamin, which is woke, and it's a whole different thing we'll talk about another day. But so I had this magnanimous idea. Well, I'll tell you a little bit more about the idea. But the idea was, why can't they shut Twitter and Facebook off
for a week
and social media off for the 5 days before the election, or 2 days before the election, or even election day?
It sounds like China to me, but there's something interesting about it.
It does suspiciously sound like China, but they don't seem to have these election problems that we do.
They don't have elections. That's one way to say
have elections.
They're lovely elections. They're beautiful.
You can vote for the guy who's in power or the guy who's going to die after the election. You have your choice. It's a system the Russians built many years ago, and seems to have worked out okay for them for the most part.
You have more choices in a Chinese restaurant than you do in the Chinese government. The Chinese restaurant, there's A, there's B, there's pages and pages of choices to make. You can get it hot, you can get it medium, but no, not the government.
I wonder if you went into a Chinese voting booth, if it said pick one from column A and one from column B. Oh man. So,
and you know why they do that? They column A, column B is because we don't know how to order Chinese food. Still, we don't know how to order. We have to order it by the number. I'll take a number 2, and I don't know. 6, 5. You show me.
Well, Michael, that depends on the crowd you're hanging out with. Now, I hung out with guys. Matter of fact, one of my good friends, Murray, who is recently departed us.
Hail Murray.
Murray could go through a Chinese menu and bing, bang, bingity, bingity, boo. He would point out what he wanted. He knew what it was, and he could tell the waiter. And you stand there and you'd see, because this waiter in this neighborhood Chinese joint, he's used to people going, let's see, could I have some number 12 and some number 14, and bring me a small portion of 18A. And no, Murray would go in, sit down around. I want the razor clams and the black bean sauce, and I want it with the coriander, or whatever makes it. Boom. I mean, he'd go through a menu like that. He knew his Chinese food.
He knew his onions.
Yeah, he knew his onions. He knew his bok choy, his wo hop. He knew all of that stuff. And this is the guy you wanted. I mean, he took me places in Chinatown and even outside of Chinatown, but mainly in Chinatown, where Mr. Murray, good morning, boom, we go in. I mean, this guy knew Chinese breakfast.
Ooh.
Now that's, when you can go
Now there's a mystery. I have no
and
idea
hang
what a
with
Chinese
somebody that
breakfast-
knows how to order breakfast in a Chinese restaurant when you are the only couple of white people in the place. You go with somebody. So I learned a little bit off of Murray. He was a fantastic, and he's this Jewish kid from Queens, and he goes in though. He knows how to order, man. He shocks the Chinese guys in there.
You're not expecting that. Hail Murray full of grace.
Yeah, Hail
Or Hail
Murray.
Murray is such a deal.
So anyway, so the other idea that I thought was so valid, a hotshot Scott, a good friend of mine that I think he still produces Mitch Levy's show on a computer. Boy, my mind this morning is not exactly where it needs to be. But
Well,
Scott,
is Hotshot Scott a hotshot?
Hotshot Scott is a hotshot. As a matter of fact, he took he coaches a women's girls, young girls softball team in Issaquah, and they went to the softball World Series this year.
And did they play in it or did they just
Yes,
go?
no, they played in it. No, I don't think he'd go if he was the only one there. Anyway,
way to go, Scott! Congratulations to the team.
Yeah, the team from Issaquah, where he lives, and Scott had a great idea that I thought I would implement tomorrow if I were the cable company, and that is, once you vote, you can. We have the ability to do this now. Once you vote, all the political commercials come off of your. You don't see them anymore.
Yeah, well, that would be quite a logarithm, wouldn't it?
But it could be done. I mean, if I can sit here and talk to you right now about going camping, and when I go on my, 2 columns down here on my computer, there'll be 10 ads for REI or LLB, or you name it.
But Zuckerberg is very good for putting the ads in. He's not very sharp about taking those ads out. There is, you can look all day, you won't find a delete.
I mean, I don't know about you. I don't know how much you watch YouTube. My YouTube has become unwatchable with ads, not because of the ads, but because of the shit. I mean, you can't get through a 3-minute video
Without a stoppage.
Without it stopping many times for the same ad. And so I have 2 alternatives. I either have to get rid of, not use YouTube and try to find something that's comparable to it, which there is none, or I have to pay the whatever they soak you for ad-free YouTube.
For the premium.
The premium, and it just seems to me like it's an extortion scheme. We'll keep pounding you with these ads. But I think that those 2 ideas, while I know will never come to fruition unless I'm the last guy left in the United States, and it won't matter. I just think they're great ideas. Shut off social media for a day or 2 before the election, and B, you still have a right to free speech. You can stand on the corner and tell everybody you want to vote for Trump as much as you want.
You can say what you want on Facebook. Just understand that half their staff is gone and they can't make the corrections that they used to make or the adjustments that they should make. Or when it comes time to taking something off, that seems to be more difficult than putting something on, especially when there's no one at that desk anymore.
Well, Michael, excuse me if my heart doesn't bleed.
It does bleed. I know you does. You're that kind of guy.
Yeah, for the, many of the people who have started up Facebook and have made a career out of being overpaid for prying into our lives, and we've let them. There's no doubt in our mind that they have taken advantage of the new attitude that as long as I'm not doing nothing, who really cares if they get all of my information?
Well, the Kyrie Irving defense is I didn't make the documentary.
Right, I didn't make it, but and the non-responsibility for things that you do, and I think that they've taken advantage of that. which was their right to do. There's no law against it. And they made enough money and spread enough money around. So it's like Uber. If Uber goes out of business tomorrow, I'll feel bad for the drivers, the people that they've exploited in many ways to get them to deliver you or your food or your groceries or whatever. By taking an idea that, was born many years ago, delivering groceries to your house or food to your house. It was born of kids and young people on bicycles that looked like boxes, and delivery vans, and and pizza places and hero shops that you called up and you said, hey, I'd like a large pie, a salad, antipasto salad. And the guy would say, yeah. And a half hour, 45 minutes later, it would be at your house with some guy on a bicycle.
You could get that done in the 60s and 70s, maybe in the 50s. New York was way ahead of the curve. Well, I remember when I first moved to New York and you could order from a deli and they would bring you the sandwich. It was a revolutionary idea to a Californian.
Yeah.
They bring it to you. He said, yeah, we do that. It's in New York. Now, it may not be in Boston. It may not be in Philadelphia or Baltimore, but it was a big part of the service in New York. And everybody knew, just like they do now, you got to get in on the delivery business. It'll change the way you do lunch. Pastrami and turkey on rye.
We used to have, many times in many places I lived in New York, there was always a coffee shop or a diner with a little Greek guy named Nick. Yeah. And Nick, would do the deliveries in a dirty white shirt and a dirty apron. But you know what? If it was 9 o'clock on Sunday morning and you'd been out all night, you called up the diner and Nick coming up the stairs.
I'm sorry, but I'm getting some lights. I'm listening. I'm sorry for the distraction.
You would get, Nick would show up and boom, you get your food. He was the most welcome sound in the world when you're starving, and they would deliver, anything that you could sit there and buy at the counter in the diner was transportable somehow, some way to these guys.
I think the fact that Mick had a dirty apron adds to the authenticity of his delivery.
Well,
I put the sandwich together.
Breakfast right there on his apron. I mean, it was, you could see it before you eat it.
There you go.
The Chinese places, they used to make up those plastic food plates, that looked like the food. They'd stick it in the window, and this is today's entree. Nick had a better idea. He brought it with him. This is your eggs. Here's your bacon. Here's your buttered toast. And here's your chocolate pudding. All easily transportable. Anyway, so excuse me if I don't feel sorry for, any of these people who are grossly overpaid and enjoyed benefits far beyond that of what many people get at work, drove the prices in the housing markets through the roof so that people, we always talk about homeless people, but why can't people afford housing? Because you have these people that are making so much money, they don't know what to do with it. And so they drive up, they figure, well, if I want this house, I'll pay $100,000 more for it. Oh, well, yeah, I'll pay 125. Well, I'll pay 130. So that's why your $150,000 house just sold for $450,000.
Strangely enough, Vinnie, that particular trend has taken the Bay Area by storm, all the way to Mendocino County, Napa County, Ukiah, all the counties north of the area where the people have changed the prices in the structure of the economy of the cities that they don't live in, the weekend cities in Napa, Mendocino, and beyond.
Right, but it's not just California, Michael. It's happening all over the place. You go and try to buy a house in Idaho, near a lake, and see what you wind up with. You go and try to buy a house up in Bellingham, anywhere, and see what you're going to pay. Places that were shacks, literal shacks, 15 and 20 years ago, you go back up and you look at them now, and $500,000, $600,000.
Same thing with Lake Chelan. I saw
Yeah.
that happen personally. I don't know what the prices are right now, but they were on the rise.
Yeah, they're through the roof. Anything, because anywhere where you have, and not just on the coast, go to Austin, Texas, and look at what
Yeah.
rent is in Austin, Texas. Go to San Antonio and look at what rent is in San Antonio. Places that you would go to when you left somewhere because it was cheaper to live there. People would often say, well, if you can't afford to live in Seattle, why don't you just pick up and move? And people would, and they would go to places like Austin or Phoenix or you name it.
Florida. There's still, Kristen was
Well,
reading an
yeah,
article.
Florida's always been a little weird, but yeah.
But no
now,
state tax. See, no state tax like Arizona, like Texas, like Washington, no state tax.
And it's I mean, people are just, but now that option is disappearing because, well, there's a number of factors, and really, I know we're going down a path that we probably didn't want to go down today, so I'm going to reserve that if we can for maybe Friday or Monday or something like that, because it is the day before the midterm elections. It is the final sprint to the finish line, as many, I'm sure, shows are going to, on cable news are going to tell you about, say, this is it, this is all.
I think they're already trying to explain why the Republicans are going to win. I watched television this morning and got that message from them. The Latino vote is going Republican. Why? They can't really explain why. They're just predicting it will. The Latinos decided they too want an evil side to them. Marjorie Taylor Rodriguez is going to be the next person in Congress because the Latinos want their slice of the evil.
Well, I think that, it's always odd to me because the Republicans have hit on a formula that works unbelievably well for them. And that is try to get the people who you piss on the most to vote for you.
Yeah.
Try to get the people who you harm the most
to love you,
to vote for you. It's such, I mean, we are in such an abusive relationship with politics. I mean, it really comes down to, when you look at it, just a terribly abusive relationship. Not everybody, but a lot of people. Donald Trump takes my money away, and I want to vote for him again.
I'll send him money. Is he short?
I'll send him money.
Yeah.
He screws middle-income people all over the place. But I'll send him some money because, they're telling me on Fox that he's doing good for me. Or he's funny. Maybe I won't pay for my cable TV. I'll pay for Donald Trump.
Maybe because God sent him. Don't forget that idea. I don't know how God got involved. I don't know why he would send him, but that's the theory, and a lot of people are buying it.
Or maybe I'm just so sick of people telling me they're going to do something that, well, wait a minute. He hasn't done anything. Well, but no, he has. Look at all he's done.
Look at all the chaos.
Look at how much Jim Jones has improved our lives since we got here to Ghana. Look at it.
There's been nothing really like him in a long time. I want to say that.
There's
music, and he has a way of wearing a short sleeve drip dry shirt that not many people can equal.
There's music and there's love. We go to rallies. We can't go out, but we can go to these rallies and we can be with other people who think like we do.
Who are as afraid as we are.
Take that away from us. And they want to take away our guns. Jim Jones lets us have our guns. He doesn't let us have bullets, but he lets us have the guns.
And they know a lot more about they than you do. The they that fixed the elections, the they that stole their government, the they that's coming for their guns, the gay that's landing in their backyard. This they is an all-pervasive threat that keeps them angry and afraid and overreacting. It's the chaos that the whole group thrives on. And that's why they've created their whole reality, Vinnie. It suits them to have a different belief system than you do. That
Yeah.
way, you believe that the Jets beat the Bulls. I mean, the Bills. They don't believe that. Somehow they got turned around in the translation, and that's why I would have to file this election under what I'm hoping will happen, and that is the unexpected. I'm waiting for the unexpected. I'm waiting for the Jets to beat the Bills.
Well, they did yesterday, so I mean that's a good thing. But here's this is what happens: is they live in a world where their gratification, their feeling of comfort, is much more important than democracy, much more important than helping your neighbor, much more important than anything else, because you can go and turn on Netflix and get away from it all. You can go and you don't have to believe what you don't want to believe, because you have your piece of property. And, as long as, why should I care if somebody gets read their rights? I'm not doing anything.
I didn't make the documentary.
I didn't make the documentary. I live in we've grown and now are harvesting a generation of people, maybe even two generations,
One and a half at least,
who are willing to accept what somebody with a snappy suit tells them, are willing to, are more informed than ever, yet don't want to do research, are vote for an ideology more than a person. Guys like Gary Hart and Al Franken and those guys, just to name a few. I mean, let's face it. Nobody would hold anything that they ever did, and not that Franken really did anything, but Donna Rice would have been doing campaign ads for Gary Hart these days. But no, we don't look at integrity anymore. We don't care about a person's
integrity is a burden, Vinnie. It's a burden to someone without any.
Their honesty. We just figure the world is not an honest place. You got to find your own truth.
Ooh, it's a dangerous first step.
Isn't the same truth as the guy next door? He's wrong, you're right. Not, well, could he be right? Could he be? Could his thoughts, what he's talking about, be smarter than me? Well, you can't admit that.
Well, when you look at the flat Earth, you have to notice that it's not as round as the moon, not as round as the sun. It's more flat, like a book. And that's what makes Kyrie Irving such an interesting person, that he could see all the examples of round.
But he's not interesting to me. He's not interesting to me. He's just an idiot. I mean, really, there's no other way to describe it. He's like the little guy at the bar, at the end of the bar, who keeps telling you, oh no, my friend. He's the classic idiot. He has an uninformed position. It's not even a position. It has nothing to do with any kind of fact or science or anything. He just believes what he believes because somebody somewhere told him something.
And he's just turning into a contrarian. Time to eat lunch, Kyrie. No, not eating lunch now. I'm not through with breakfast.
And now we have, Kyrie Irving is just a part of, and has because we put celebrities on such a pedestal, it counts what they say. People listen. If Jack Benny had come out and said the earth is flat, we'd all laugh about it. We'd say, Jack Benny started To Be or Not to Be.
Great movie.
Which is, a movie that while informs you about the terror of the Nazis, also pokes fun at them.
So they called me concentration camp Earhart.
Yeah, you couldn't put Hogan's Heroes on the air today. How do you think that would be? Oh my God, you're making fun of Germans, you're making fun of Nazis, you're making fun of this, you're making fun of that. Yet, because people looked, they went to the library to do research. And those people generally got elected to offices. Marjorie Taylor Greene wouldn't have had a shot in hell to get elected to an office in 1962 or 63, even as racist as she is.
And you know what they would have said? They would have said, she's not a lady. I can't vote for her. She's just not right. There's something rude and obtrusive and upsetting about her presence. And she likes to hang with the boys and try to be as bad as they are. And it just bothers me so much because she's not a lady. That's 1963. She wouldn't have made a dent.
Yeah. Except, who knows, maybe because of racism and this and that and the other thing that who knows, maybe she would have gotten elected. Maybe that's exactly what they like down south. I don't think so, but but she's certainly not a Southern belle.
She might have made it in rollerball.
Yeah, her place would have been roller hockey. Not because she's a woman, just because she's an irritating asshole.
Yes, calling off the jams.
As much as I disagree with Nikki Haley's policy, at least Nikki Haley seems to be, and maybe it's more dangerous, but she carries herself with class, with finesse, with a certain kind of, I don't know, a certain kind of thing that she has where if she's talking, you'll listen to it. Now, you may not like what she's saying. You may not agree with her. I don't agree. But she'll stand out, and maybe that's more dangerous.
I think she's made her devil's deal with reality a couple of times, but I know what you mean. She has the ability to pretend to be civil.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you. Civility. She has a certain civility that is, it at least gives her an entryway into your mind. If you're smart, you go, well, she's selling, I ain't buying. But there's a whole lot of people who will buy what she's selling.
Well, that's the way it is with snake oil. You don't know you need it
until I tell you.
Yeah. I came here today saying snake oil. Who buys snake oil? And look at me. I got a 50-gallon drum.
And I've got a 55-gallon drum of it in the trunk, in the back of my pickup truck.
My El Camino.
There you go. So we have this election tomorrow, which is so close in so many places, so they will tell us.
Yeah.
You have the three so's here. And I don't know, Michael. I don't know how to read it. I read it from watching cable news and all the different stations and reading the New York Times and the local papers. And it is surprisingly, I think, too close to call in so many places.
According to pollsters.
Now, I have never told a pollster the truth anytime I have ever been polled in my life.
I think that's the American way.
I think that that's part of it is that, you've just ruined so much politically in this country.
The American dream is we've got a great poll, we've nailed it down, but the American way is we lied to the pollsters. It's so cool. Then they wrote down what we said.
Yeah, it's your little way to be an anarchist. It's your little turf, your anarchy turf. You can go against the system. You don't have to tell them what you did. Your vote is private. The fact that you voted is not private, but your vote is it's supposed to be a secret ballot.
Well, it worked that way in California. Our poll is expected to be pretty liberal. but that's not what really is in balance. The California vote is not in question. The reason we had to vote in California is symbolic. Millions of us had to come forward. Millions of people had to say, this is the way we want our society to run. This is the politicians that we want to represent us. And the dark side of that story is that what they want is a takeover, a get even time, a time of destruction of what's been built in the last 4 years, and a way to do it legally and to just slow everything down and make their no vote larger than it even was before. That's if the Republicans win. But I remember unexpected consequences and unexpected outcomes come at a time when, for instance, there is rain in California, a new moon that's full, and a new moon that's full and it's going to be the blood moon, and a lunar eclipse all on election day.
Yeah.
I think
people out there howling.
And I believe there will be. And in a time when the Lions can beat the Green Bay Packers, that shows me that there's unexpected consequences on the horizon, and we have to be aware that those are in the vote, especially of the women of America, whose rights to reproductive freedom have been erased in just the signing of Joseph Alito's name. And if we remember the statewide election in Kansas that showed that the women voted overwhelmingly in response to that, I think we have to see that the same thing is possible, and that will cause the unexpected reaction that I'm hopeful. The only thing that'll save us is that my prediction could come true.
Well, you know what, Michael, I would agree with you, and I hope that you're right. I hope that you're right, but it seems more and more like television and whatever else is out there has ruined our attention span.
How long is it now?
How long has it been? What happened 6 months ago?
Forget about it.
Out of your mind. The fact that you're living in a place where they want to ban abortions, tell women. I mean, 2 weeks ago, Oz and Fetterman debated. Oz made what you would think would be a crucial mistake. He uttered the words, well, the decision should be between the patient, the doctor, and government officials. Now, in any society that has believes in freedom and separation of government and keeping them out of your life, certainly Republican party stuff, which is built on keeping government out of your life, those words would have been a death knell. It would have been over. I'm not voting for him.
Well, but Fetterman struck out that night.
Well, some people think he did. Some people think he didn't. Some people, again, Pennsylvania is a different animal than California or New York. There's a lot of people in Pennsylvania who have had strokes. Like Wisconsin and down south and many other places, it is a state of very unhealthy people. It should say the drive-through state on the bottom of their license plates. And there's a ton of people there who have had strokes and gotten sick and had to recover from them. And while the national people, and I tend to agree with some of them, think that probably it wasn't the best idea in the world to put Fetterman out there, the people that I'm talking to in politics in Pennsylvania, the people that know the turf better than anybody else, are telling me there's a lot of sympathy for Fetterman. There's a lot of people that saw that debate and said, well, yeah, my Uncle Charlie had a stroke, and I remember it took him 6 or 7 months to get back from it. But you know what? He's back at work, and he's doing fine.
But you could be right, Vinny, because the candidate for governorship, Shapiro, is a liberal Democrat, and he's way ahead. And I think that his vote, if it's really there, according to the polls, Fetterman will coattail in on his good feelings, and that's a real possibility.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know if you saw the speech that Josh Shapiro, and I like Josh Shapiro a lot. I think he's a major league player. And I don't know if you saw the speech he gave over the weekend, but if you didn't, and you're a Democrat and you're saying, who the hell is in our party rising up? Who's the next generation? You go look at Josh Shapiro and the speech he gave over this weekend, and close your eyes and you tell me that you don't think that it's Barack Obama giving you that speech. The guy can stand up in front of an audience and speak and motivate them. And it really seems to me that a guy like him, and I know Shapiro a bit from being in Pennsylvania, I know that this guy is the real deal. Tom Wolf, who the current governor is, and I've met him on a number of occasions, not any kind of, national candidate material. Nice guy, business guy. But, he's never given a speech that's motivated anybody. I don't think he could motivate a kid to go to the bathroom on a car trip.
It's amazing how few orators America has in its political ranks right now. People who can just stand on their hind legs, as Horace Rumpole used to say, and captivate the room.
But yet we're so bereft of orators that a guy like Donald Trump stands up there and captures a crowd
like you've never seen.
I mean, what was this thing? Over the weekend? I'm very, very, very almost so very, 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 very close. I mean, your 6-year-old kid says that. I'm very close, Daddy. It's coming out. You got to find a bathroom. It's ridiculous. And now the worst part of this all, and I think tomorrow's going to be a zoo. It's going to be conspiracy theory heaven. November 22nd used to be the big day in the conspiracy theory people's lives. Now it's every day, election day.
Every day something happened, of course.
And if what many people think is going to happen happens tonight with Trump announcing, I don't know about you, pal, but I'm ready to shut the damn television off. I'm ready. I mentally don't want to go through another 2 years of listening to Donald Trump's hate, vitriol on a stage that will be given to him by media left, right, or center. Because the one thing Donald Trump does produce is numbers.
I don't want him in my life anymore, ever, as of today. And if you want to blame the Democrats for anything, maybe blame them for moving slowly and determinedly to legally hold Donald Trump responsible for the awful, illegal, criminal things he has done and is doing to this country. He did it without checking with anybody. He just moved, as he always has, in the ranks of darkness and criminality, because it comes naturally to him. It's the first thing that occurs to him is the dark side. And he creates chaos wherever he stands. And the people who are loyal to him in their cult also stand for Donald Trump in a way that doesn't allow them to stand for anything else. It takes away all the other opportunities for a point of view, because you can't have a point of view if you're going to be loyal to Donald Trump. He can change his at any time, and that means you have to change yours. And I mean today. You must alter what you live and breathe and believe in.
Mike Pence was a great vice president. He was the bigliest, bestliest vice president this country ever had. But by the end of it all, he was sending people out to kill him.
Had to do it. It wasn't personal.
Just business.
It was business.
Listen, I pray for, Michael, I'd like to say I pray for a Democratic wave tomorrow. What I pray for is people to get elected, whether they're Republican or Democrat, that uphold the same beliefs and honor that people like Adam Kinzinger, Liz Cheney, the guy down in Arizona, Rusty, whatever his name is, I forget now. The Republicans in Georgia that basically told Trump to screw himself when he called up looking for how many extra 1,000 votes that he needed there.
But you're asking the Republicans who have already sold their soul to reconsider for just a moment and do something honorable.
No, because the ones that sold their soul, I don't think you're going to get them back. But there
the ones
are
that sold
still
their soul. The ones that sold their soul are the ones that prevent Liz Cheney from having a job.
Right. But hopefully there's still enough good people out there. And President Biden was so right when he said on Friday, character is on the ballot. Yeah. It's funny. I never usually do this, but before I voted on Friday, or actually I did it Thursday, I Googled every candidate as I went down the ballot.
So you didn't get it wrong.
So not just because I wanted to know, they may be a Democrat, but if they're a Democrat that, I don't know, was indicted for something or this or that or the other thing, maybe they don't get my vote. Maybe I either don't vote or vote for if they're opposition. And it took some time. It took me an evening to do. But you know what? I felt like I voted for quality people. I felt like I voted people not just because they had a D or an R next to their name, but because I felt that was the right person for the job. That they have brought, that we elect these people to be leaders. A leader in a community, in a church, is supposed to have, in the Boy Scouts, is supposed to have integrity.
Well, I voted mostly straight ticket for two reasons. I knew the candidates that I voted for the most part, 90% of them, but I also had a choice. Was I ever going to send a message to a Republican running for office in California that he or she had a chance to spread the shit that they're spreading across the nation, and I would support it in California? That question is being raised in the Central Valley today, and you'll see which side they come down on. So I had to make a choice about what side I'm going to come down on. Will I stand in any way with the Republican Party or any of their candidates as it stands today in California? And my answer was no, I will not. I will not give you any vote or any support whatsoever.
And I will never say, I mean, I'm a Democrat. I'm a registered Democrat. I generally tend to vote Democratic. As a matter of fact, the last time I voted for a Republican, it blew up in my face. Because the guy, I voted for Murphy in Pennsylvania, who's a Republican congressman. And he was anti-abortion, but he delivered so much for mentally ill people that to me outweighed, because I figure only the number of people who are going to need abortions, which he really had no control over, was much less than the people who needed help mentally. And if this guy could deliver that to people, then I would take, holding my nose, his view on abortion. his, very strong, he's an Irish Catholic guy. Little did I know that, as in the case of most of these politicians, that he stood up there and while he was telling everybody, I'm against abortion, he was forcing his secretary, who he had impregnated, to get abortions.
He sounds like he might be slightly Irish. Yes, indeed.
There was a little, but I voted for him twice because he delivered on issues that I was concerned about.
Twice. That's stubborn of you, Vinnie. But at the same time, look what we were saying about the type of person who is drawn to be a Republican, beyond that, drawn to be a candidate, beyond that, drawn to be a twisted candidate. Proselytizing one thing when he makes his speech, living a completely different life in his private life, and laughing at you because you're supporting him based on what he doesn't really believe. That's a Republican politician. There's lots of them around, and many of them are not worthy of the support that they're getting.
Yeah. Mikey, as I said, it's very rarely that I voted for a Republican, but I certainly, without a doubt, held my nose while I did it because I didn't like. But even if we go back that far, which was now, I think he's out for, let's see, it's at least 4 years because Connor Lamb won his seat in the special election, and I voted for Lamb. And there's another thing. Lamb is a Democrat, but he is one of those Democrats that's a Second Amendment Democrat. He doesn't believe in as much gun control as many Democrats want. He's kind of a lot more centrist about it. But he's an ex-military guy. Not what I like. But his opponent was a guy who basically wanted to give everybody a gun. Oh, you're in 6th grade? Well, here's how we stop school shootings. Let's give everybody a gun.
Well, we've never done that. We should try giving everybody a gun, a government gun, and then see if we're safer as a result. And if we're not, we can get them back later, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Well, we should give them government guns because, after all, that cheese was so good back in the 80s.
The cheese was not what I would call top of the line.
So the gun, if the cheese worked that good, the gun is gonna really.
We have to get the two together. Why won't my gun work? Too much cheese. And what we're saying is, clean your gun with cheese. It'll work. You'll see. It'll work out in the long run.
In a secret warehouse in Biloxi, Mississippi. Many people don't know this.
Is it air conditioned?
All of the guns that Superman bent in the TV show. He used to bend the gun back like that. So they have all of those.
Can he wave his hand and have all the guns in the room bend, or does he have to do each one manually?
I think he has to do them all manually. I mean, I guess he could use his heat vision and melt all the guns, which I've been an advocate of for a long time. But unfortunately, Superman and sane politicians both come from the same place.
Well, there's something else that comes from the same place, and that's the polling that we were talking about. The polling was wrong for 2017 when Trump won. The polling was wrong for this last election, and in many ways it was wrong. So we have to assume that the polling in this election is going to be wrong, plus or minus 5 or 10 points in many of the important elections. Some that we think were close will not be. Some that we thought were a gimme will be closer than we expect. Now, I can't tell you what those are going to be because all the races are close. If it's a runaway, then we're not even thinking about that one. But in the close elections in Arizona and in Georgia and in Pennsylvania and in Florida, where else?
Oh, Nevada.
No, Michigan.
Even here in Washington.
So there you go.
In Washington, Patty Murray is in danger of losing her seat.
To who? Someone more a Republican?
Yeah, to a Republican, to Tiffany Smiley, who
I'm
is.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I thought you said Tiffany Smiley.
Yeah, no, I did. Tiffany Smiley, who is a Trump surrogate and somebody who, while she says she's not, will, I am sure, rubber stamp every kind of policy that Mitch McConnell or the people that want to destroy America as we know it.
How's her belief? How's her belief in the last election? Does she believe that it was stolen? Is she a believer?
She's been very centrist on that. She hasn't actually come out and said that the election was stolen, but she hasn't not said it. So
she's from the Kyrie Irving School of Public Relations.
Well, she's from the school that says the less you say, the better. And she has a huge advantage over Patty Murray in that she is young, she's attractive, she's eye candy.
She's a Fox News bunny.
She's a Fox News bunny. And that will, especially with men, that gets her someplace. There's a guy here, Dino Rossi, who's been running for everything the state has to offer.
And he's never won anything. I interviewed Dino a couple times.
Yeah, and he's never won anything. But here comes Tiffany Smiley, and she's running a race with Patty Murray just to make sure the Smiley campaign runs ads that show Patty Murray with her teeth discolored. And so they're playing on this. They know. Now, people that I've spoken to here in the state of Washington don't believe that Murray is somewhat safe, that she may eke her out by a couple of points, only because your urban center, the west side of the state,
dominates.
But if it's still going to be a lot closer. Normally, I don't know if you remember this in the beginning of the campaign, I was telling people, send money to Fetterman, because Murray's not going to need it. How the hell could she lose to Tiffany Smiley? But economy, man, the economy is for many people in the dumper. And you can talk about abortion rights, and you can talk about law and order, you can talk about schools, you can talk about pandemics, you can talk about anything. But the thing that people are talking about in the parking lot when they walk out of the store and see that they spent $150 for what used to be $65 worth of groceries is that we got to do something about this. And it's and if you pound that message home and point your finger to the Democrats as the people who have done this, even though, show me how the Democrats have done this.
It's your corporate friends down at the corporate headquarters that did it to you.
Right. It's your, Shell Oil that's raking in profits like you've never seen before. It's Walmart and all of these other places that are making profits off of the pandemic. Now, if you want to say that the government gave out money to people and that caused it, well, yeah, that's probably a piece of it. But you know what? Who gave that money out to the people?
Joe Biden.
No, Donald Trump gave that money out to the people. Donald Trump was the one who started the checks. Now, people needed them, but the system was so loose that
everybody got some.
Everybody could.
And the worst guys got more.
Remember
the LA Lakers got $20 million?
Yeah. What was it? Ruth Chris Steakhouse got $20 million. I feel bad that I didn't just put in that the Mikey and Vinnie Broadcasting Company needed $20 million.
And we need steaks too. Tell Ruth.
I can't eat a steak right now, so I'd love to eat a steak. So, Mikey, I think that the bottom line here is...
Hold on to your hat.
that you got to vote. You can't let it go by. Every vote right now is needed. If you want this to be a fascist nation, if you want this nation to be run by gridlocked Republicans, then you need to vote for them and put the country out of its misery. Just kill it now. Don't wait for Trump to do it. If you believe that what we have here is worth fighting for, if you believe that we are in a place in this country that's very dangerous, if you believe we're slipping down the pole and there's nothing to hold on to, then you got to get out there and you got to vote for your candidate. You got to call your friends.
But if you believe you can get a pastrami and turkey delivered to your apartment in New York and you like life that way, then you got to vote for the sunshine. You got to vote for the good side. You got to reject the chaos and you got to reject the dark side of politics and of human nature. And that's why I'm expecting the unexpected. I'm expecting good news on Tuesday.
I hope you and Michael Moore are right. I hope that genuinely hope in my heart, Michael, is that we elect good people. We need all the good people right now that we can find in this country. Good people that will stand up for what's right.
Take abuse,
not be in it to line their pockets or to see themselves on TV, but be in it because they care, because they want to see this country around for our grandkids. Yeah, that's how close it is. It's not 30 years away or 50 years away.
It's 78 hours away.
It's for our kids, not even our grandkids, for our kids. If you want them to live in an America that somehow resembles the America we grew up in, which wasn't perfect by any means, but a kinder, gentler nation than what we're seeing now, then I think you gotta not only vote for not the Democrats, for the people that espouse that, but you have to vote against the people that don't.
The LA Times reported this weekend that California now has the fourth largest economy in the world. So what can you look forward to in a nation that is hoping for another civil war is the separation of certain areas. And we've talked about this before. It's a possibility. It's not something that I'm looking forward to, but I do know that California will stand on its own and against other state governments like Arizona or Nevada. If they want to get crazy, they can do it in their own states. But that kind of existence, that kind of law, that kind of politics, that kind of chaos will not be welcome in every state. And some states like New York, like Massachusetts, will distance themselves from that. And the legalities that come with states' rights will become all more important.
Yeah. In some ways, I'll never say that the Dobbs decision was which negated Roe versus Wade is a good thing, but maybe it's given us a bit of an insight into the kind of chaos and insanity that is upcoming for this country if we start to say that every state can set their own standard on things like abortion, discrimination, equal rights,
marijuana sales,
a myriad of things, because then we no longer have the United States. The idea of the United States is that, we have these little governments, 50 of them, but there's a central structure that we all look up to. The flag, that's what the flag means. We look at the flag and we say, I pledge allegiance.
Well, what you're pledging allegiance to has become sort of a foggy image of what it really should be or might be, or you want it to be.
No, the image is clear, Michael. The minds have become foggy.
Perhaps you're right.
The image is very clear. It's all written down on that little piece of paper called the Constitution. It's all there.
But all the mistakes are there too. Then we're suffering through all the holes in the document. It left a lot of things unsaid and undecided that we're wrestling with even today.
I mean, how could you know? I mean, these guys were visionaries, and they sat there and they wrote things, but they were also faulted visionaries as well. And they wrote things that would never fly today.
That fault, we don't blame on them. We say it's not their fault, but in reality, their vision only went so far. And a few important things that they did not notice, that they did not take care of in the language or the intent of the document, are haunting us today.
Yeah, I mean, who in 1789 could have sat there and thought that there would be such a thing as AR-15s? And that you could take this weapon and now walk into a pub in New England and in one fell swoop in 30 seconds wipe out everybody in the pub.
And they didn't foresee that. They didn't say, like, if Benjamin Franklin was here today, he'd say, "Oh, you let the slaves play football." No, Benjamin, they're not slaves. Well, how did that happen? Well, we freed them. Why would you do that? That's something that he would have never figured. You can let them play football, but paying them to do it, that's ridiculous. They're slaves.
Right. I doubt very much, although I think there were people at that time who thought that this is a wrong system, but it got us away from England. And that changed. But yet, even when it changed, it didn't fix the problem.
And the separation of church and state was not made clear enough so that we can't figure out why they did it then and why we're trying to end that relationship by mixing church and state now.
Right.
They just did not spell it out clearly enough for the evangelicals.
And the idea that this was born as a Christian nation.
That's just not true.
Yeah, I mean, it was born on a set of principles that everybody should get a fair shake, that you shouldn't be born into a caste system, that you should be able to, you should have the right, that the right to make yourself better, the right to expect more for your kids than you had is a reality. But
you can't get that kind of life.
Corruption.
Yeah, well, the corruption that they faced was church and state. If you recall, they had to fight a king who was there by the divine right of God. That gives him a slight advantage. And they had to fight a church which anointed the king with the divine right and enforced it and ensured that he kept that right, while the little people could come in on Sundays and bring an offering. But they could not participate in the type of life that the king was enjoying, or that the church was enjoying, or that some of the aristocrats were enjoying, because they had signed on to the church and state being one.
Right, because he had a hard job.
And they saw the damage that they did. You can't as a citizen go up against God and the church and the king and expect to win, because they have the divine right on their side. And they said that's wrong, and it's wrong because church and state are in bed together. One ensures that the other can exist. So we're going to separate them and never have them together again.
Right. The Archbishop of New York is not going to appoint the next president. That's not how it's going to work here.
He can vote, but that's about it.
Right. You and all of you, except you slaves over there, are all going to have the right to elect somebody. And you slaves hang out because we got something coming for you in 1865. We're just not sure if everybody's going to go along with it. So we got to get that straightened out first. But once we get that straightened out, you won't be okay, because we could free you, but it doesn't mean that the people who owned their attitudes are going to change.
No, I'm afraid not.
As a matter of fact, they might be pissed off that come harvest time, they actually have to give you some shekels to go out there and pull that cotton.
And when sometime in the future, the Lions beat Green Bay Packers, you can play. You can play on both teams. It'll be good for you in the long run. You'll see how it's going to work out.
Right. So, hang out, pick on cotton, pick on tobacco, and stay away from all women.
And if you can think of something that we're going to call soul music, the sooner the better, because that was a great time.
Because that's going to be a big ticket toward people understanding you. And if any of you can have a grandson that can play baseball,
call me this afternoon.
Call us right away, because we're going to get that straightened out too. But for now, stay over there.
Dusty Baker's World Series. That was kind of nice in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Not because he's black, just because Dusty is a good guy.
He's been there a long time.
He's from now. He did win the World Series, didn't he? As a player wasn't he on that 81 Dodgers team?
Was he in left field for that? I don't
think he was. Yeah, I think he had won as a player. I haven't really paid that much attention to, because I just, it's one of those things where they're not going to tell me much about Dusty that I really didn't know.
Except he's got that style. His elbows come up when he runs, and somehow his knees go together.
And he's got the UL Washington toothpick.
Yes, he does.
He hasn't got rid of that. He's, no matter what TV station or interview or anything, he's got the toothpick. But so I haven't paid as much attention to it, and I really don't like the Astros. I like what they've accomplished. I know that they cheated to do it, but again, as I've said before, every team, the Giants cheated in 51.
The thing about those damn Astros, and how I hate them, is that they are so tenacious, so unforgiving. They do not give up. They say, all right, you got 5 runs. That means nothing to us. We know how to get 5 runs, and here we go. Everybody gets on. Bregman, Altuve, they don't take days off. They come to work and they get on.
They're kind of the Chicago Bulls of baseball, because when Jordan ran the Bulls, everybody showed up for work.
Yeah.
Nobody, Rodman, no matter who, everybody showed up, everybody worked their ass off, and everybody won championships.
Lots of rings, lots of jewelry.
Lots of rings. Give me, I'll take I'll take some of the players that you don't want, and I'll have them here, and they'll go by our rules, and they'll flourish. Biggest example is Dennis Rodman, right?
Yeah.
In Detroit, he was sitting in a parking lot thinking about blowing his brains out. In Chicago, under Jordan's wing, he was probably more important to that team than Jordan was in some ways.
He got them the ball. How many times can you come down with the ball? And that changes the whole scope of the game.
You can't shoot like Mike if you don't have the ball.
I rest my case.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
in that 96 series that the Sonics played him, I know they gave Jordan the MVP, but in my opinion, Rodman was always the MVP of that series. He so out-rebounded the Sonics that it was almost pathetic at times. He was everywhere.
He had the ball. He had the damn ball.
He had the ball. And he fed the ball to Pippen, who fed it to Jordan. And the rest is history. Thank you. Good night.
Well, I don't like Houston, but I grew to admire the team's abilities by watching the World Series. I was rooting for the Phillies. They had a lot on the ball, but when it came time to score runs, when the well looked dry, they couldn't do it. When it came time to catch up or maintain a lead up against Houston, they didn't have the weapon. Houston seemed to have better pitching, better infield, and this attitude that we're going to come in here today and beat you, and it could be with an infield hit or it could be with a 3-run homer, but we're going to figure out a way to do it. And here we come.
Well, they overmatched every there wasn't a team that they faced that they weren't A, better than, and B, didn't have an answer for something for. And the biggest example of that was the 18-inning game here.
Yeah.
I mean, the Mariners, yeah, they threw everything they had at them. They went toe-to-toe. But in the end, it was the experience and the timing and the right move at the right time that they were able to outlast the Mariners.
On the road.
Yeah, on the road. Almost impossible to think about, but they did it. And they didn't have it wasn't a thing of, we're not going to, you can't match us. It didn't look like this guy or that guy, but yet they pulled a person out of their hat, as happens in many playoff and championship series. They pulled the person out of their hat that you didn't expect. And that person went out there and took care of business, except in the Astros case, you expect that anybody that they put out there is going to beat you. There's not a lot of lightweights on that team.
No, there's no gimmies.
Yeah, maybe. And the interesting thing with that was maybe the lightest weight guy was Trey Mancini that they brought over from the Orioles.
He could play.
He couldn't hit. He couldn't hit worth a lick. He was 0 for 18, I think, in the postseason. I don't know what he did in the last game, but I know he was at one point he was 0 for 17. He struck out, but who caught the ball, the late line drive when the Phillies came back that would have probably tied the game and probably won the game for the Phillies? Trey Mancini.
Yeah. When you least expect it. In fact, there's my theme for today: expect the unexpected.
Yeah. Well,
and my last example of that is Jacksonville beating the Raiders. I don't know if you saw that game, but it was
part of it. Yeah.
They shut them down, and that was the theme through the weekend. Teams that you would not expect to be able to take advantage of stronger teams did just that. Not once, not twice, but 3 or 4 times during the weekend. And it led me to believe that there's hope in not just football, but in the outcome of this election based on the unexpected. So I'm hoping that the lunar eclipse and the blood moon mixed in with the Lions beating the Green Bay Packers will bode well for the country, which right now does not need the convulsions that would come with too many Republicans winning office. It's just something that we can't keep surviving it.
Well, I hope you're right, Michael. The problem with that analogy, and I hope it's okay, is that to get voting right, you have to actually do something.
You have to vote.
To get a football game right, all you got to do is sit there and watch it. If you want to get voting right, before you mark your ballot, you got to get on the computer. You got to see who you're voting for. Maybe you have to vote for somebody that you don't really like as a person, but they believe that the country needs to be fixed. That they believe that what happened on January 6th is wrong. Not there was a woman I was watching on CNN this morning, Jordan Klepper. I don't know if you know Jordan Klepper from the Daily Show. He was out interviewing her, and she says, "Oh, it was a peaceful rally. It was, people went to Washington, and they stood out there, and it was a peaceful rally.
It was a beautiful day, and we had a wonderful time.
The sun was shining, and the birds were chirping.
The picnic.
He says, well, didn't you watch it on TV? Oh, no, I shut it off.
Yeah, I couldn't watch that.
I couldn't watch it. Well, then how can you? Well, that's what I heard on the news station that I listened to. Do I need to go further in this conversation?
They filled me in. There you go. Multiply that by 30% of the nation, and you've got the base that has twisted this country into something that no longer resembles our nation.
I hope people use you want to talk about God all the time. Well, I hope that people use the God-given sense that they have
Well,
to,
if God gave the sense, how come he gave so little to so many? I think we're entitled to an explanation and an apology.
one of my dad's favorite sayings in his life was, "You're playing with your trains." You know, if you said something stupid, he would say, "You're playing with your trains."
I like that.
And
It just means you're on the wrong track, I suppose.
well, no, what it means is that when how did he used to say it? When God said brains, you thought he said trains and got on one and left. That was his justification for telling people that they were playing with their trains. He didn't want to insult them. Say, "Yeah, you'll play with your train. Go play with your trains." And
did you say trains or brains?
yeah,
I said trains.
In that statement, there are a lot of people who thought God was saying trains instead of brains and got on one and left heaven before or left the baby factory way before they got their full complement.
Does God need to enunciate? Because I thought he was infallible. What is this with the mispronunciation?
God, well, it wasn't God, it was the people. He hadn't put enough brains in them yet so they could distinguish brains.
Oh, he was saying it right because it's infallible. The perfect beings he just created couldn't hear it correctly.
Right. You have to slow down for me to put the rest of your brain in so you could hear what I'm saying. But you didn't. You just kept going.
Well, it's raining here. I hope people don't think that it's braining in California, because that's not what I said.
It's braining here, and I certainly hope people don't think it's raining, because that wouldn't be anything like the.
Weather has not been a favor, has not done any favors for the people who have to vote during this election. High winds all across the nation. You had high winds in Seattle.
Oh yeah,
rain, early snow in a lot of places, but these incredibly powerful zephyrs with gusts up to 40 to 70 miles an hour all across the country. You saw that in football games all through the weekend at all sorts of schools and all sorts of venues.
We had no power here. I had to do drive time Saturday out of the car that I'm driving this week, the Cadillac XT5.
Because it has its own hotlink
internet hotspot in it. And so we fired it up and, had computers all around, and we made the show go on the air. I didn't want to just do a repeat because it's a Seattle Auto Show week up here.
Plus, it's great. It's a great thing to be able to do a show from your car based on the facility that the car provides you.
Well, it certainly proves a point about modern day automobiles, that you can, when the power is out all around you, you still have your car. I guess maybe the only thing that would have been better is they took the car that I probably would have loved to have had during the blackout, which is the Ford Lightning. Then I could have run an extension cord and ran the whole house off of it from the power that's stored up in it. But
hey, when you do that, when you plug the whole house into the truck power, does the truck have to be turned on? Does the ignition have to be on?
That's a good question. There are 3 zones in the truck, and you can turn the zones on individually. So you could have power, you could have a power cord into something in the cab. You can have the power cord into something in the front, and then you have a power outlet, actually 3 outlets and 2 charging outlets in the bed of the truck. So, but I'm not sure. I think there is a mode that you put it into to do the zones. And I think you can turn them all on with the engine off. Well, there's no engine. I mean, it's a battery.
There's a system, an electrical system.
Yeah, there's an electrical system. There's no, it's not like if you turn it on, it's going to charge anything. You're going to be draining. Now, you can set it so nobody else can plug into your truck if you want. But once you turn those zones on, I don't think it has to be running. There would be no reason for it really, for the electricity. I want to say the ignition, but there's no ignition really. No reason for the accessories to be on, except for the accessory of the power system. And again,
if you turn the power system on in the car and you plug the house into it, then your charge does your house charger that would have charged the car work? So now you can charge the car on a loop.
well, you would only plug your house into the truck if you had no power in the house, right?
Right.
So by that, it wouldn't loop it because you would consume the power. What I think does happen and will happen is when you put the charging system into your house, as we see now with Tesla, what they have done, and I think is it Generac? I think Generac is now doing it too. Is you can take the power that is being generated by either the sun or however, if you have, I guess, a strong creek in your backyard, you could do it, and produce your own power and store it in your house so that theoretically you would never have a blackout because the power would not be coming from the grid. As a matter of fact, theoretically, you would be selling power back to the grid.
Yeah, exactly. Like you do with solar.
Right. So you're doing so you're charging your car, you're running your house, and you're selling power. Now, I don't know how much they pay for it. I've heard that it's a pretty minimal amount, like 4 cents on the dollar or something like that, which that'll have to change. But reality is that instead of having one huge power plant, maybe you could have thousands of little power plants, and they all charge up and send the power back to a facility where it can be distributed to people that don't have the ability to have solar, whether it be here in Seattle, where solar is a little iffy 6 months out of the year, or at the North Pole, who knows where, Minnesota, places like that have short days, don't have a chance to get the solar.
They do. They just they don't have the system. One of the most successful nations on the planet for solar collection is Germany, which is a northern European country, and they have long professional winters, and they are running way ahead of the rest of the world on solar power.
Well, because they have for a long time believed
they committed
that not only do we would like to have solar power, but that if we want to save the planet, if we want to cut down the emissions, if we want to save the snow on top of the Alps from melting down into the rivers and people stop coming here to look at it, we probably got to do something. We don't have the capacity in our country to build enough power plants to make all of this happen. So how can we do it? Well, solar power. The Germans, I think, are the ones that are testing out the solar power highway in Arizona. Volkswagen, it's funny, 10 years ago, Volkswagen was a leader in diesel. And we all know what happened there.
Wrong turn.
Very wrong. And so after that, they committed to saying, okay, we're going to go. I mean, I remember going to an Audi event in Washington, D.C., where they stood up there for 4 hours and told us how diesel was the future of automotive mobility.
Because our planet runs on the diesel sun. The sun is a diesel system, and so we're just emulating what the sun has shown us how to do.
Right, and except that they were fudging the numbers.
They fudged them all.
They
And
fudged every number they could come up. I mean, there were numbers that were straight numbers became crooked numbers in a matter of moments.
And they fudged the safety numbers too, because they were presenting a safe car that wasn't as safe as they said it was.
Well, you know, Michael, it's so funny to me too that the place it was discovered was West Virginia.
What are the odds? What are the chances?
The fine folks down in West Virginia decided, they said, you know, as a student project here, as a little thing, what do you say we start to get some cars and we check the emissions against
The claims.
and a funny thing happened on the way to the forum.
It ain't like that.
You know, all of a sudden they saw that, wait a minute, when we hook up the smog machine to this car, it completely changes its characteristics. It comes from a gruff and haunting masculine to a Marilyn Monroe.
You wouldn't know it, yeah.
Feminine.
And false.
And then Germans are always thinking. But to atone for it, I guess, or maybe because they just saw the handwriting on the wall, they're becoming a leader in electric.
Well, they had to catch up and they had to do it quickly.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that there was certainly, you know, to their credit, in this whole deal, they did wrong. They got caught. And they kind of came up with a corporate edict that said, all right, we are going to advance electric in as much as we can in as short a time as we can.
It was funny how that company got rotten from the top down. The president, the executives, the scientists, all the people who were signing off on these false numbers did so willingly, thinking that they were going to capture the market. No one was ever going to find out.
I don't know what they thought, Michael. You know, I don't know that anybody has ever, and maybe they have. I know there's books about it that have been written. I haven't delved into them probably as much as I'd like to, because it just doesn't, not that it doesn't interest me, but I mean, I'm just so up on contemporary, what's going on today,
it's changing
as opposed to what's happened. But I would like to know what the hell they were thinking. I really would like to know. You know, I mean, I think they were thinking like every other corporation thinks, that this is the easiest. We have this technology. It's not going to cost us a gazillion dollars. The whole idea of technology now is not electric cars. It's autonomous cars. It's the whole thing is now about making a car that'll drive itself. That's where the money is. And we have the technology to do that already. So all we have to do is match this with this. Oh, you mean the technology doesn't do exactly what we need it to do? Okay, we can fix that.
We'll just say it does.
We'll make it so it does for 5 minutes a day.
Oh, God.
And that 5 minutes will start when somebody sticks an object in the tailpipe.
You'll see, this is going to work.
This is going to work. And so when you roll the TDI diesel in, it's, you know, coughing and spitting. You put the probe in the tailpipe, you hook it up to the machine, and all of a sudden the little computer goes
Happy town.
purring like a kitten.
Just as happy as can be.
Just a beautiful thing. That's American fraud, pal.
It's international fraud, actually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just made a boo-boo. I didn't change the clock, the show clock. I have a clock here that, you know, that I look at to see where we are in time. I've had this for years. It's my remote clock.
So does your clock say 11:58 or 12:58?
No, it says 12:58.
Okay.
I've had this clock, you know, for like I said, I can't even tell you how many years that this clock has been with me. Probably 25 at least, and it works great because it's got the second hand on it. You can sync it right up to the, to the
Top of the hour.
clock at the top of the hour to just get right out when you need to. But I did not yesterday change the clock. So it says 12:58:29 right now. And it shocked me because I said, have we been on the air for 2 hours?
And somewhere in the world, it's 12:58:29.
So it's coming up on, somewhere it is, but not here. So it's coming up on noon. So we better.
High noon, we'll say
much
goodbye.
more of a show today than we anticipated. I'll tell you what, why don't we were going to do some stuff after the show today. Why don't we do that tomorrow?
Let's do it. Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll be back with you on Wednesday.
On Wednesday,
We'll probably not know everything we need to know.
I wonder if we will know something. Yes, we'll know something, but we don't know what we won't know everything.
Well, we won't know Pennsylvania. I doubt we'll know Pennsylvania unless it's a blowout one way or the other.
What about Herschel Walker and
I don't think we'll know Georgia either. I don't think, because those two states hand count a lot of matter of fact, hand count, I think, every absentee or mail-in ballot.
well, let's hope they do.
So, well, you could put them in a machine and count them too, but I know Pennsylvania does. And so I don't think we're going to know. I think probably you'll know in California, you'll know in Washington, you'll know in Nevada.
Well, of course,
you'll probably know in Arizona.
We don't have any surprises to foist on the American people like many states do.
Well, we might have one, and certainly Arizona is. How could you not vote for Mark Kelly?
Well, they've got
That's
two
a
down there.
Hero.
They've got a strange attitude, and I don't know how we're ever going to find a cure for it. But it's something in the water, and their attitude is alarming.
And Carrie Lake, she just looks like that woman. She just so reminds me of the woman that you never wanted to go near in the newsroom.
Yeah.
There was always one person that worked at every station that we've worked at.
Don't talk to her.
Just didn't want to go near them. You put your head down when they walk by.
Don't talk to her. Don't say anything during the broadcast to her. She wants to be left alone. Don't correct her copy. She likes it to be wrong. She's convinced that it's right, but she wants it this way. Don't update her temperatures. It bothers her. She wants to update her temperatures herself, but she doesn't. So just leave them. Do not touch the temperatures.
Yeah, she reminds me of that, and that there has been one at every station I've ever worked at.
Yes.
There's one at every station. You just don't mess with them. You let them go ahead. Well, you just said that the Earth was flat. Well, listen, that's what I think today.
Yes. It'll be okay tomorrow.
The general manager will be on this afternoon with an apology to our listeners. Gary Lake said some stuff this morning that, well, just basically isn't true.
And
if you drink 7-Up, your baby is not going to be born with an arm sticking out of the back of its head. So drink Coca-Cola. It's just not going to happen.
And the flat earth thing really works for me until you get too close to the edge. So with Carrie, stay away from the edge.
Well, can you, I mean, have you ever been far enough up in a plane to know whether it's flat? Oh, Mr. Kelly, that's right. You were an astronaut. You've actually seen it.
Senator Kelly, can I introduce you to Kyrie Irving? He's the man who flattened the earth. The earth was perfectly round until he and the other Brooklyn Nets just did something, and they broke the switch, and we can't get it back.
Mikey,
what do you got there?
Have I ever told you how just absolutely delicious a glass of V8 is?
I've heard of this.
I love it, man.
We have some in the kitchen right now, to be honest with you.
A cold glass of V8 juice that contains First of all, low sodium. Second of all, gives you 45 calories. And if you stick a couple of ice cubes in it,
All the wonders of the world become apparent.
just the and don't guzzle it, but drink it slowly.
Enjoy it.
Enjoy it. Let it, I don't know that there's a much better drink on the face of the earth.
I'm currently involved with Trader Joe's ginger beer. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah,
It's
no,
a
I am, yeah.
seasonal thing. Yeah.
I love their I always go out and buy the large bottle of ginger echinacea. They sell it in half-gallon jugs.
Mhm.
And all of that warmed up with with a little, just a dollop of cream on top of it.
And what have you got?
And you've got something that fights infection, and
Doesn't an egg cream do the same thing?
in a different way though.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't know about it fighting infection, because there was a guy that used to the whole thing with the 2 fingers of chocolate syrup, 2 fingers of milk. Well, he measured it by putting his fingers in.
No, that's wrong. That's just wrong.
Not so, maybe, I don't know, maybe that builds up a resistance to whatever else.
It builds up my resistance to order an egg cream. I'll say that for sure. We got to go to another place.
Yeah, well, that the problem is that if they don't get you with the fingers, they get you with something else.
Well, when you put it that way, I'd say that's what you get when you order anything in New York. But good luck to you out there.
Mikey, I think we've proved today that we can do 4 hours as easily as we could do 1. Because I could keep going. If I didn't have to go and actually get some stuff done, I would we would stay here and talk for hours, even though probably at this point nobody's listening. That's okay.
That's okay. That's perfectly all right.
We do this so that we can spend less money on therapy.
I listen to him. He listens to me. Some days we listen to each other at the same time.
We're always confident we have at least 2, count of 2 listeners, us.
Two rather remarkable listeners is what I would describe it.
And 2 callers, 2 people that can actually answer our questions, us. And
hello, Vinnie, I'm on the line. Are you there?
Yep.
I have a question for you. You want to get together on Wednesday?
Sure. What do you say we get together, Mikey, at about 10:10? That seems to be a lucky number for us. 10:10
Wednesday morning. We'll see if we still have a democracy, or if Benjamin Franklin was right that a republic is hard to keep,
or if we're holding on to it like Slim Pickens at the end of what's the movie?
How I won the war.
How I won the war, Dad. Yeah. And also Slim into movie immortality.
Slim Pickens and Peter Sellers making our afternoon worthwhile on a rainy day.
George C. Scott was in that too.
He played the shotgun general.
Yeah, he was. That was the first of a number of really odd roles that he did. Although his portrayal of Patton, without a doubt, one of the best. Didn't he send? Now I know that when Brando won for The Godfather, he sent the Native American woman out there to accept the award, who just recently passed away.
Sasheen Littlefeather.
Yeah, I think she passed away like 2 weeks ago or something like that.
Yes.
But didn't George C. Scott do something bizarre too?
Yeah, I can't remember.
He won for Patton, right?
I can't recall what it was.
Yeah,
did he speak himself or send someone in his stead?
I think he either sent somebody in his stead. I'll have to look. It just rings a bell in my head that he did something. But I'll tell you what, if you want to see a good movie, well, 2 movies with George C. Scott. who, for those who may not know, great actor that was around in the 50s, 60s. I started liking him when he did a TV series called East Side, West Side.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the early 60s, one of those CBS social justice series that were prevalent in the day. He did a movie called The Hospital, probably around 1972, where he played a doctor that was running just the most real hospital you've ever seen. This was no Ben Casey or Dr. Kildare. I mean, this guy his hospital sucked and he knew it. And the other one is in the miniseries Mussolini. He played Mussolini.
Wow.
And you know, it's on YouTube. I thought it was just a stellar portrayal of he played. George C. Scott played really odd characters. Really,
and he would go over the top sometimes.
Yeah. He really I mean, we always talk these days about, you know, Pacino and De Niro and Brad Pitt and you know, several actors that are classics but George C. Scott was, well, at least the Pacino and De Niro, somewhat of a contemporary of theirs, maybe a little bit earlier than them, but still in that 60s and 70s vein. And I don't think it's the recognition that that he should as a great actor.
I think Gene Hackman too suffers from that.
Yeah, Gene Hackman. Yeah, you know, you're exactly right. That's a great observation. Gene Hackman, who is still with us.
Oh yeah,
who's still with us. I mean, he's retired now, but you know, Gene Hackman, and again, you go from The Conversation to The French Connections to Hoosiers to I mean, just so many of these great movie roles. I mean,
what was the movie? What was the movie he did with in Hollywood where he played the executive, and it was in Get Shorty.
Get Shorty, yeah. Him and what did he play? Harry. What was it? Who was the character? Harry Butts? No, Harry
Owens in the Royal Hawaiian.
Harry Ram? No, Harry. There's something weird like that.
Yeah.
Played a pretty much washed up.
A lot of bad things happen in Harry's office. Harry.
I mean, a typical B movie producer, director that, you know, that you know, had one major hit in his life and lived off it for many years. Yeah, I mean, he was great in that. Danny DeVito was great in that. I mean, Travolta was great. Everybody was in that movie. Was you know, there was three, right? There was Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, you know who was in you know who was in that movie and made his way to greater roles.
Gandolfini.
Exactly.
James Gandolfini plays what's his name? Vince Vaughn's
Schlemiel. Yeah, he plays a gopher.
And then the third one, which a lot of people probably don't know about, but still is a great movie, is Be Cool, where Travolta plays same role,
Chili
record company,
right?
Executive. Well, he's a mob guy, and he becomes, you know, his friend's wife. His friend gets shot and killed. He becomes helps her out. Finds a wonderful voice, and who is it? Cedric the Entertainer is a rival record company. He plays it well. I think Harvey Keitel is in it.
Yeah, he would have to be.
Yeah, there was a ton of really good, you know, really solid, you know, the Quentin Tarantino school. I don't know if it's a Tarantino movie, but that Quentin Tarantino 80s Hollywood or 90s, really Hollywood class.
And it shows you why the record business is not about making and selling records.
Right.
You think it is. You think it have to be. Sooner or later, you got to make it a record and sell the record. No, that's not what the business is about.
No, it's got nothing to do with that. It's always got something to do with it's moving the money around. Wherever the money comes from, don't ask, just move it around.
And you pay royalties quarterly? Yeah, sure, whatever.
Or as they say in the record business, you do it, or you do it.
There you go. The three rules of success in the record business.
Oh, man. All right, Mikey, listen, I will see you on Wednesday. To any of you out there who are listening, or will probably listen to this thing later today, as so many do, that we find on our page, please do not forget to vote. Do not put your ballot on a desk. Do not put your ballot in your dress. Do not put your ballot on your sun visor. Do not put your ballot where you can see it, not higher.
Pretty good. Keep
ballot
going.
in the box, so go down and vote today. And tomorrow, I should say. You can go today, but you can watch them set up. And in this election, because everybody says, well, this is the most important election that we've ever had. You know what?
True.
Every election, really, if you think about it, is the
From here on out.
Well,
especially,
I think in the past that
but especially the next election. This election is going to be the most important. Which is the next one? The next one.
And yeah, I mean, certainly this federal election is going to determine a lot of things about the next election.
Because everything's in play.
Environment that we live in these days, where people are trying to wrest control of your vote from you. If you want to keep your vote, you damn well better get off your ass and cast your vote for who you think. And again, if you're lazy and you think, well, I'll just run the government, I'll let them run the government, my house will be okay.
No.
Call your aunt Brunhilde, who was in Germany in 1938 or 39, and ask her how that works.
It works for the total destruction of the nation. That's what happens.
Ask the people that have lived through something like this.
Have we paid enough? No, I'm sorry, you haven't paid enough. There's a lot more to come. You're going to enjoy this next part. This is when we take down the city and take down the government and take down the structure of everything that you had in your entire life. Then the episode and the experiment will be over. And you tell me how you like it.
You don't even have to go that far, actually. Just pick up the phone and dial any random number in Kiev today and ask them how they like what's going on.
And ask the Republicans if they will continue that war and the support that
they've already said no. They've already said we're
pro-Putin.
And there's a lot of people out there that say, yeah, well, maybe they're right. Maybe it's
time. Maybe it's time we let the Ukrainians fight on their own.
But there is a thought that if the Ukrainians drop, at some point, Putin and his boys might become sailing into New York Harbor at some point.
NATO first, and that's why the Republicans will pull out of NATO, so they don't have the responsibility of joining the North Atlantic Treaty Organization any longer.
Well, like Trump wanted to do. Trump was all about pulling out of NATO. They don't pay their bills. They don't do this. What do you think was telling them to do that? Please, if this son of a bitch announces tonight or tomorrow, Mikey, I don't know. I think it's they're going to have to put a wall up on the border between Canada and the United States. Forget about Mexico.
Because here we come.
It's a whole different scene up there, pal. All right. Listen, we could talk for hours. I'll talk to you later, man.
Talk to you, Vinnie. See you.
All right. Vote, even if the Lord's willing, and even if the creek rises. And then go home and have a little peace, or get a little peace. I don't know. Love. And Manischewitz.
And let me just add that it's quite a wine. Good night, Vin.
Good night.